Man, co-owner of Saloon number 10 at that time. Oh, get over there. Unless you want to trade places. No? Sure? All right. And behind the bar, bartending that day was Harry Young, the bartender. Now, there's just a few things I'd like to mention on what there is to do in Deadwood. Thanks, Harry. That was one. Except for you kids. Deadwood Social Club, probably the finest restaurant in Deadwood, right upstairs. Then, one of the best bus tours is the Boot Hill Tour, right over there by the train station. Also, they have a show up above the original site of Saloon number 10 in 1876. Don't know what it's called, but go find out anyway. It's supposed to be good. I myself got to Deadwood latter part of June 1876. Came into town with a good friend of mine by the name of Charlie Utter. Just a couple months ago, March 7th, 1876, I was married in Cheyenne, Wyoming. My wife and I went to Cincinnati, spent 2 weeks on our honeymoon. Told her, honey, I'm going back to Cheyenne and take that wagon train to Deadwood with my good friend Charlie Utter. And that's how I got here. Now, I was born, I know that much. You want to know where, or you don't? Do you really? So, history now. You that much of a history buff, you want to know that? I don't like talking about myself. All right, I was born in Troy Grove, Illinois. You happy now? May 27th, 1839. Anything else you want to know about me? Wear a size 16 shirt. You're fine. No? Fine. Anyway, I used to be a stagecoach driver, security, U.S. Marshal, sheriff. During the Civil War, I was one of the first paid Union spies. I was captured twice, shot twice, and I escaped twice. And some folks ask, your name is James Butler Hickok. How did you get the moniker Wild Bill? I was the youngest of 4 boys. Horatio, Oliver, Lorenzo, James. My older brother was called Big Bill. Guess what our father's name was? William. You were close. So, subsequently, I was called Little Bill, being the youngest. When Lorenzo and I were out west, he would always use my nickname, Little Bill. Later on, it became Wild Bill, and there are many stories about that. But on August 2nd, I'd already been here a good little over a month. Also on that wagon train was Calamity Jane. Now, there was never anything between us as far as a relationship goes. But on that wagon train, I decided to bring a good 50-gallon barrel of whiskey with me. Share with my friends, because the water back then wasn't too good. And one of my friends became Calamity Jane. Now, she was all of 19 years old by that time, and I was a little older than her. I was 39. And she was always at my camp wanting some of that whiskey. Needless to say, she pretty much drank it dry by the time we got here. But I had nothing to do with that woman. I was a married man. Now we're going to continue on with the events of August 2nd, 1876. 1876.
Hi folks, and welcome to the old style Saloon number 10. In a few moments, you'll step back in time to witness what happened on that fateful day, August 2nd, 1876, when Wild Bill Hickok was gunned down by crooked-nosed Jack McCall. The employees of the number 10 will set the scene for you, so sit back, hang on to your sarsaparilla, and we'll start from the beginning. It was during the latter part of August 1875. Frank Bryant and a party of 7 gazed down into a gulch of tangled, broken trees, which from then on was to be known as Deadwood Gulch. They made their way to the bottom and began to pan for gold. Soon the cry of gold echoed up and down the canyon walls. They hastily built a crude cabin east of their find, but nevertheless went on to prospect throughout the northern hills, only to return on November 8, 1875, to post a claim of their discovery. On the very next day, November 9, 1875, a second group filed a claim just short of 3 miles up the creek. This outlined a stretch that was destined to become known as the richest placer claim area, not only in North America, but the entire Western Hemisphere. As news of this bonanza leaked out, the rush was on, resulting in a flood of mankind from all directions. The Army could no longer stop the invasion of the fortune hunters. By August 2nd of 1876, Deadwood Gulch, now known as Deadwood City, and often referred to as Sin City, had acquired a worldwide reputation as a booming metropolis. Its surrounding hills and creeks were loaded with gold. Even greenhorns were said to be able to find nuggets, well, as they put it, bigger than horse turds. Its streets were lined with substantial businesses offering everything from an opera house to dance halls, saloons and banks, stores of every sort, but mainly saloons and gambling dens. Deadwood Gulch was jam-packed with every variety of mankind, good and bad. The likes of Wild Bill Hickok, Seth Bullock, Wyatt Earp, Calamity Jane, Colorado Charlie Utter, California Joe, and Preacher Smith. Somewhere between 4,000 to 6,000 of them. They came with greed or lust and high ideals, but the frenzied excitement that Deadwood provided well satisfied their pioneer spirits. 2 guys named Nuttall and Mann couldn't picture themselves seeking their fortune as prospectors, and instead built a house on their placer claim, number 10, which became known as Saloon number 10. On the morning of August 2nd, 1876, Harry Young was tending bar in the number 10. His hair was greased, as was customary for bartenders in gold camps. This was essential as part of a method used by bartenders to collect a little extra loot for themselves. Before reaching into a prospector's poke for a pinch of gold to collect for a given whiskey, the bartender would rub his fingers through his greasy hair, thus oiling them well. He would deposit the unoiled gold dust into the boss's take, and by again rubbing his fingers through his hair, redeposit the oily flakes where it could be washed out later. It's said that there was a bald-headed barkeep who was known to have half a dozen hair pieces, all well oiled. His take was enormous, as the laundering process was more efficient. The dance hall girls had arrived on Colorado Charlie Utter's wagon train in late June, ready and willing to entertain the thousands of eligible prospectors. Some came with hopes of finding the right man. Others came simply to make their own fortune. Their attire, somewhat more revealing than what was thought to be proper, was looked down upon by those trained in living on etiquette. But nonetheless, they brought to the gold rush an air of reckless, dazzling excitement. By August 2nd, 1876, they were well established up and down Deadwood City's main street, working around the clock in one fashion or the other. Honky-tonk piano and their songs of promising spirit filled the air. Many an unlucky prospector could find hope for tomorrow, for he knew what the night would bring. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Wild Bill Hickok entered Saloon number 10, seeking a little poker action. Charlie Rich, a gambler from Cheyenne, Carl Mann, owner of Saloon number 10, and Captain Massey, a riverboat captain from Missouri, were engaged in a game of draw poker and were quick to invite Bill to join them.
Be right there. You're awfully quiet, Charlie. You all right?
Wild Bill's reputation demanded that he be exceedingly cautious. For instance, he never liked to sit with his back to the door. The vacant seat was so located, and a lively debate between Charlie Rich and Bill resulted in an attempt on Bill's part to get Charlie's chair.
Charlie, move over.
I'm not moving. You sit over there.
Charlie, just move over.
This is my place.
Bill was not given his request, and grudgingly, with great hesitation, took the empty chair. But after a few minutes, he stood up and again asked Charlie for his
Look,
chair.
Charlie, I tell you what, why don't you take your chair and your butt and move it all over there? I'll just put this empty chair
Bill
there.
didn't win this argument either, and on this rare occasion, he settled down, sitting with his back to the door. Wariness, though, kept Bill alert, for all knew him to be a left-handed drinker, leaving his right hand free to handle his pistol. As unpredictable as card games are, Bill found himself quickly losing to Massey, who had lost to Bill the night before.
Harry, you want to bring me $15
Bill asked
there?
Harry for $15 worth of pocket checks. Harry brought them over to Bill and returned to the bar and his duties.
All right. Now.
Soon, a shifty drifter known as Jack McCall entered the saloon. Bill quickly turned while drawing his gun. Recognizing McCall as a newcomer to town, he greeted him with a friendly,
How you doing, Jack?
then reholstered his gun and resumed the game. Jack slowly circled the table, pausing briefly behind each player and analyzing each hand.
All right, Captain, I'm going to take you like I did last night.
Give me a shot at that with
One more.
I don't think so, Jack.
Wild Bill's attention was on Massey. There was a friendly argument between them, and Wild Bill remarked,
Tell you what, the old duffer broke me on that last hand. Go
upon
fish.
returning directly behind Wild Bill, suddenly Jack McCall,
Take that, dang you! Do none of you move!
Oh,
the
hey, guys.
bullet struck Bill on the back of the head, coming out of his left cheek and lodged in Captain Massey's left arm. It was discovered soon after the cards Bill was holding were aces and eights, forever known as the dead man's hand. All fled the saloon except Carl Mann, who was held at bay by McCall. Jack snapped the trigger of his gun several times. It failed to fire. He then ran out the door and up the street. He was found hiding in a building behind a butcher shop. Later on in the day, he was tried in a miner's court. The jury, being tainted and influenced by a deceitful defense, found McCall not guilty, and he was released. This decision not only outraged the judge, but also the general populace. McCall left the camp in haste. Upon reaching supposed safety in Wyoming, he began bragging of his ignoble deed. Word of this reached a U.S. Marshal who tracked McCall down, arrested him, and sent him to Yankton to be tried again in Dakota Territory. It was determined, since the first trial was held in Indian Territory, that it was not legal. McCall was found guilty and hung for his cowardly crime. He was buried in an unmarked grave on the edge of town. Later, as the town grew, the cemetery was moved. As the coffins were opened, one corpse was found with a rope around its neck. It was easily identified as Jack McCall, the assassin of Wild Bill. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to allow us to share that bit of the story.
Let's hear it for our volunteers.
Of its own.
Very much, sir.
Thanks, Harry. Sir.
Charlie.
Hey, this here ain't no spit tune either, so don't spit in it for us. Come on up, get your picture took. Oh, Wild Bill. Something you'll never forget.